So a long day and a long search for answers about Rafa Benitez's future has now come to an end, and a sad and inevitable, perhaps in some ways, conclusion that Rafa Benitez unable to get that contract extension that he wanted. And lots been said today, so you know you can't dwell on too much at the moment. There's a lot to process, but really for Newcastle, they've let a top class manager slip right through the fingers. Oh, and it was completely avoidable as well. That's the stupid thing about it. I don't think Rafa Benitez was asking for much more, but realistically, Newcastle have said in the past they've had big bust-ups with managers before, like Kevin Keegan and Alan Shearer, where they wouldn't show any ambition, and they've done it again with Rafa Benitez. So you know they're back to square one. Newcastle now have a 2-week period between now and going away on pre-season, big trip to China to come, and they've got to get things sorted out. And who's going to come in and replace Benitez? We'll have to wait and see. That is the big question that we're all asking at the moment. Newcastle probably haven't thought it all the way through, because at the end of the day, whoever comes in now is going to have to fill big shoes, because Benitez was able to lead Newcastle to 2 sturdy mid-table finishes in the last 2 seasons. He'd done it on the back of a relatively limited budget. That wasn't going to be improved. That's one of the reasons why he's gone. But realistically now, the club have got a big job on their hands to replace Rafa Benitez. They've got to try and pacify the crowd again. Not easy. Rafa Benitez, hugely popular figure. But Newcastle, once again, it feels like another fine mess. They've got to move on. The fans, they're the ones who've got to pick the pieces up, as always. It's not fair on them at all. But realistically, Rafa Benitez was never going to commit to that contract unless he saw some ambition, and that just wasn't on the table. So, end of a long process, wondering whether Rafa Benitez was going to stay or not. Some people will probably be saying, yeah, I told you so. But then again, others might have that bit of hope that Rafa was going to sign on, but it looks like Newcastle were the ones who called time on this a little bit earlier than expected, and they've moved on, and they've got to try and find his successor now. And the shortlist is being drawn up now, but whoever comes in is going to have to be really good, because Rafa Benitez, as I say, led Newcastle to those 2 sturdy finishes. And now the job on their hands is a big one, because Newcastle will be struggling if they don't get some signings over the line pretty quickly. They'll be struggling to better what they did last season, and unless this guy is going to come in and do a magnificent job to begin with, it's going to be a tough task indeed.